Hello, hello, hello. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. We have a Mercury retrograde coming up, and we are going to take a deep dive and we're going to walk through it because it goes through two signs, not one, but two. I'm going to cover some of the retrograde basics, right? And I've been talking a lot about this lately because we have a Mars retrograde. Yeah, this is all coming up soon. And a Mercury retrograde, right? And the retrograde power is an intensification of energy, right? And so the question is, what kind of energy, right? So if we're talking about Mercury, Mercury is information. It's talking, it's thinking, it's communication. So if Mercury is retrograding, if you're a Mercury sensitive person, I know we have quite a few people on the channel who have charts where they got really strong mercurial energy in their chart, right? And if you have that, you're super sensitive to what Mercury's doing up in the sky and the sign that it's in. Okay. So if you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to know, or you just want your chart just so that you can follow along while we're watching these videos and learning together, just put your digits in the comments below, or reach out to me and you can get your information to me. And your chart in your hand is free for you. It's just part of being one of the stars at Allastrology. So Mercury, information, communication, it's talking, it's the news. It's the news. Mercury is the details. It's the details. It likes details. That's what its job is, actually. It collects details. You know, back in the day, somebody used to use Mercury as their logo. It was like the little dude with like a little helmet on his head, right? And he would have like these wings on his feet because I guess it meant fast deliveries, right? Anyway, that's Mercury. It is fast. It rules the sign of Gemini, an air sign, Mercury flying through the air, right? Mercury does really well in air. So Mercury going through Virgo and then going through Libra means it's going to change what it is that Mercury's thinking about and talking about, and what kind of information. So when we know what Virgo means, then we get a really much clearer idea of, okay, this is what Mercury's going to be talking about. Now, the other thing about Mercury is it's the news and it's social media. And unfortunately, because of our society, our world is in this process where, because everyone's got a device in their hand, everybody is able to be, we have information so fast now, right? And so we can be really quick to hit the share button. Mercury, talking with the hands, communicating with the thumbs. That's Mercury. This is all Mercury, right? Back in the day, it would be like sign language. So it's a news reporter, and how like each one of us kind of feels like we're a news reporter in some way, but most of us are really not so much reporters, but journalists, which is kind of like you're just taking the data, the information, and you're consuming it, and then you kind of digest it, regurgitate it, and give your perspective on it, your opinion. And that's where we're all getting hung up, right? And maybe not everybody, but well, at least for us in the States, it's been pretty darn obvious, information that's come across. And this isn't political, this isn't even going to trek down that path, but getting information and immediately saying, well, this makes sense to me, this is true for me, and then sharing that in whatever format, whatever way we are comfortable with, like social sites, social media, social platforms. This is all Mercury and Gemini. Okay. So it might interest you to also know that some of the other keywords for Mercury and Gemini energy are sales. A salesperson. So the salesperson energy is the same, if you think about it, as a school teacher. Because what does a school teacher do, right? They're selling information to the student. They're like teaching the student, this is how it's done. This is the way. This is the truth, right? This is it. Like there's no other way. Like these are the rules. This is the information. This is how it has to be done. Memorize these dates. Memorize these facts. This is how you write. I mean, yeah, it's been a long time since I've been in school. I don't know how that all works anymore. But it's teaching. It's also learning, which is why we consume the information, right? We're not just radiators of the information. We don't just share it, right? It's not just flowing out of us, but we're consuming it. We're eating it. It's almost like we grab our phones, we grab our devices, and we're like, we read some and then we just keep scrolling. Like we can't get enough. I've even caught myself doing that seriously, which is bizarre for me, honestly, because I'm the one who was like, no television, shut all that crap off. Like that's not me. I want to be tuned into something different, right? And it's not that. But in this year, in this age, with the nodes and their location, right? It has a lot to do with the things that we value. And so we're focused, we're honed in on things that are important to us. And so, especially for us in the States, and I only say that because this is where I live, right? It doesn't mean it's not true for where you are in the world. So please let me know in the comments below. But we really, seriously and truly, we are going through a battle over our values. And it's not like necessarily just, well, that's my money and that's your money. And wow, they have more than I do. It's not just that. It's literally, what are my values, our core values? Do we care about the earth, right? Like this is a global thing. And for anybody who it doesn't appear to that they care, right? Like there's things that are going on, and whether it's businesses or rules where it just kind of contradicts, right? So anyway, we're consuming more information because it's like, okay, I value this, so I need to know about it. I need to learn about it. And I'm consuming as fast as I can. Like, okay, how can I need more. I need more. I need more, right? So Mercury is the details, it's the information, right? So it begins its retrograde, and it's when it retrogrades, it becomes an intensification of that. Because before a retrograde begins, before a planet goes backwards, retrograde, it slows down, and then it actually stops, and then it goes backwards, right? And when that happens, when Mercury is going really slow, even before the retrograde moment, okay, it's like not moving. I've likened this before to pretending you're in the kitchen and you're cooking and you're using an ingredient. Well, when you use an ingredient, don't you catch yourself think about this. If you're adding something, don't you kind of like bam, you don't just concentrate it in one spot, even though you may be stirring it up later on, right? But normally, if you were going to add like salt and pepper, you ever think about that? Do you see yourself just like constantly putting it in one spot, or are you that kind of that person who's shaking it and who's kind of doing that, right? Because for a Mercury retrograde, or any retrograde for that matter, when a planet isn't moving, like because it's going slow now, and it literally stays at a degree, so it's like a snail's crawl, it becomes super strong. It's an over intensification of that thing at that point, at that degree. So, what degree will that be? 24 degrees of Virgo to 9 degrees of Libra. All right. Those are your retrograde or rerun zones. Okay. Rerun zones. So, what that means is Mercury is going to hit 24 degrees of Virgo, which is not that far away, folks. I'm recording on August 12th. Mercury's actually going to hit 24 degrees of Virgo August 20th. So that's like less than 10 days away. So we got to know what Virgo is about. It's interesting because Mercury also rules the sign of Virgo. Right. So if Mercury rules the sign of Virgo, in my brain, I know that means Mercury automatically is squaring Gemini energy, because they're both mutable, and like energies angle and square each other. During the retrograde, Mercury is going to be doing some of this. It's a 90-degree angle that it actually creates. And so again, the degrees in which it creates that 90-degree angle, and these are really only the degrees I want you to pay attention to, okay? Because I know a lot of you out there have, you have charts, and I see the questions, and I love the questions. Put them in below. Let me hear them. Make sure you put them under this video so I know what we're talking about. It's between 24 degrees of Virgo and 9 degrees of Libra. Okay. So what that tells us is that there's like this backup, right? Mercury's going to stop and it's going to go backwards. But I want you to pay attention from October. I keep saying October. August 20th until October 2nd. That is the length of this thing, right? So from that time, there will be information that comes across your desk, your email, a text message, some sort of a communication, Could be literally snail mail, but some sort of communication. Can be from a coworker, can be someone literally who you are physically working with, can be like a neighbor, can be somebody close to you, can be a peer, right? It's Virgo energy. So that is our work. That's our job. That's our daily routine. So just keep that in mind, your daily routines. If you don't have a job, right? What is your daily routine? For a lot of folks, that's divided between home and work. Some of us are working in the home, right? So depending upon who you live with, in a way, they're kind of like coworkers in a way, right? The physical folks. But social media, so any digital communications. What happens is I almost said October, August 20th, we get information and we're not going to have all of it. There's going to be something that occurs in the following weeks after that, where we're going to be given options and a choice, you see, because it's Mercury. Anytime we talk about Mercury and we talk about information, because that's what Mercury does, it collects information. And why is it collecting the information? Because it wants to have options. And once it has options, it makes a choice. So I can think of quite a few people who are looking for work, who have been talking about, gee, when am I going to find a job? When is that happening? Or, gee, I've got this job. Can I just stop looking for a job? And yeah, I know a particular person. You know who you are, sister. And the recommendation was, you know what? Keep your options open. Keep yourself available. Keep your resume or your CV, whatever they are nowadays, and keep that stuff open and keep the line of communication open, because there might be something better that comes up. Or you may be in a situation at your job where you're like, you know what? I'm not sure this is for me. However, we always want to have our job before we change to a different job, right? We always want to kind of like be smart in it. So while Mercury is in Virgo, that can absolutely be getting information about a job. Now, because it's Mercury and Mercury's working with my hands, it could be just testing the waters and experimenting because it likes options, right? It's trying out different things. So dangling the toes in the water. But for some of us, we have to literally get in there to see if we like it. We literally have to get in there and try it to see if we like it. I was talking to someone the other day and they said those exact things almost. They were saying, I got a job, I think it was a couple of months ago. And, according to what the job description was and the interview, nothing seemed strange or off. It was like, okay, everything makes sense so far, right? And then when they got into the job and they started doing the job, it was the same day after day after day. And they had thought that maybe it was going to be a little bit more, just have a little bit more variety. That's Gemini. That's Mercury. Variety. It doesn't want the same thing. It likes, you give me this task to do. It's kind of like the multitasker where it just, variety is the spice of life, right? And so they got to the conclusion in their mind that it seems as though the job they have right now, that this is all it's ever going to be. There's not going to be any other variety. And so for them, it's kind of like a bummer. And so they're, again, another person like, I'm going on interviews. I'm keeping my resume out there, right? I'm staying active on the job hunt. So that gives you a taste of Mercury retrograde in Virgo. Now, Virgo is also health and health habits and health routines, and it's pets. So it could be your pet's health habits, your pet's health routines. Virgo is cleanliness and organizing, its schedules, its calendars, right? So you really, 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 if you're not sure what this means for you, just comment and I can take a look at your chart. And if you don't have a chart and if you want that, all you got to do is make sure I have your digits. So below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.